Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 10. So Module 10 is a continuation of your comparison essay. In this module, you will be drafting your essay and we will have several areas of feedback. So in this module, you will do some self-feedback as well as submit your draft for instructor feedback. And then in the next module, you'll take that same draft and submit it to the online writing lab and then do a peer edit with it. So we're going to do quite a few things with this draft, which is why you want to spend most of the week getting a good draft completed. The more you have done, the more feedback I can give you. So you have the whole week to get the draft done and submitted for me to review. And that's a good amount of time to spend on the essay. We've done some of the pre-writing already. You already have a plan in place. You've started looking for sources for your essay. Now you need to actually turn it into a draft of your essay. So that will be what you spend most of the week on. I've got some resources in the module for you. Obviously, I have the assignment here again, just as a reminder for the criteria that you're working on, making sure you hit those basic criteria. A lot of times students forget to look back at this. One of the things I do want to point out is that the organization for this essay needs to be point by point. So the chapter talks about two different methods for organization, and you need to use point by point, which means that each paragraph is organized around a central point rather than a topic. So one of your two subjects that you're comparing. So instead of like paragraph 1 being about subject A, it's about either comparison or contrast point for both subject A and subject B. Now, since no two subjects are going to be exactly the same, even if your essay is primarily comparing them, there will be some differences. So we talk about similarities and differences, but all essays will cover both similarities and differences to a certain extent. So if you feel like, okay, I'm covering this paragraph, and this paragraph is a point that is about similarities, but they're not exactly the same, that's okay, because we want to make sure that that overall idea of the paragraph, the focus of the paragraph, is that they're similar, not exactly the same, but similar. And then obviously the examples that you give will show some of the differences and how they can be seen as similar. So that just might be something to consider. So my example that I use that you'll see several times in this unit is Republicans and Democrats. So one of my first main points is the history of the two political parties. They're the two that have been around the longest in America. And so obviously they were founded at different times by different people, but my main point in that paragraph, so my main focal point in that paragraph is going to be that they're, because they have been around the longest, they are the most influential. So that overall, yes, I'm looking at the history is slightly different, but this is how it can be seen as a similarity. And then making sure that you use like two sources in your essay and that you have at least one quote and one paraphrase. I would make sure you get this in the rough draft because if you're not using sources in the rough draft, that's going to give you a lot more things to work on between the rough draft and the final draft than if you just go ahead and get it done now. So that's another thing that sometimes students just don't remember, they don't look at before they get their rough draft submitted. So make sure that you're doing that. I have a page with resources. I've got some links to a website. I've got some sample student essays. I've got a couple of PowerPoint presentations that I've completed. This one is where I just walk you through step by step, and then this one has some examples in it using the Republicans and Democrats that I mentioned earlier. And then your self-edit is an assignment that you'll complete. So once you're done with your rough draft, you can submit it if you want to the instructor feedback. It really doesn't matter what order you go in here. But once you've completed your draft, you're going to self-edit it. And there's a checklist for global revision in your Rules for Writers textbook, and there are 5 categories, and within each category there are several questions, and so you need to bullet your list. You're going to answer each question and just kind of depending on which section it is, some of them have multiple questions, some of them just have one. And then each of your answers needs to be in a complete sentence or phrase, and it does need to be specific and relevant to your essay. The main thing I look for in this assignment and what you'll lose points on is if you aren't critiquing your writing. So if you're just saying, yes, I have a comparative thesis statement, and then not giving yourself somewhere to go with it, not giving yourself something to change with it, that's what I look for. So giving yourself some critique is the main point of this assignment. And then you're actually submitting the draft to this assignment. This is your rough draft for your comparison essay. Like I said earlier, this is where you get instructor feedback. In the next module, you'll get peer and online writing lab feedback. And so you're going to have a lot of feedback before you turn your rough draft into a final draft. This is where you'll just submit to your instructor, or to me, I guess, for feedback. And then these are the requirements I'm looking for to make sure you have a complete rough draft. Anything less than a complete rough draft will not earn you full points for this assignment. But this is one of those assignments where if you as long as you have the rough draft done and you submit, you're going to get all your points. I'm not grading it with a rubric. So it's kind of one of those where, you do it or you don't do it kind of thing. Editing for grammar section helps you with the last assignment in this module, which is another quiz. One of the last quizzes that you'll take this semester. This is just questions. They are sentences, and each sentence is multiple choice, and you're basically identifying the problematic word in the sentence. And so if you want, you can review the editing for grammar readings, but it's not just a quiz like based on the information there. That's just to kind of help you out with some of the different editing things that you're looking for. The whole point of this quiz is just giving you sentences to look at to try and identify the problem. One of the challenges that students face when they sit down to edit either their own work or somebody else's work is just trying to figure out what the problem is in the sentence. So which word is giving them trouble? And so sometimes it's a grammar issue, sometimes it's a reading issue, but this quiz is kind of to help you with that. So this is a good point in the class to take this quiz. So those are the assignments in this module. The majority of the week should be spent drafting your essay, and then you do have that quiz to take at some point just to help you out with the editing. As usual, if you have any questions, make sure that you send me an email. Make sure you're looking at feedback on past assignments so that you're not repeating the mistakes, particularly on the stuff that's related to the comparison essay. Otherwise, have a great week.